friends, it's Tracy Herbert.
And I'm Fred Herbert. Welcome to Longevity Codes. Each week, we decode longevity secrets. The mission of this podcast is to help you discover your own personal longevity codes and live a longer, healthier, and more active life.
In this podcast, we're going to talk about the longevity movement and how you can apply strategies coming out of this movement to impact your life. We're going to share the top 6 things that will help you in your journey.
And number 1, it starts with your mindset. Muhammad Ali said, quote, "Age is whatever you think it is. You are as old as you think you are," end quote. And that's so true.
That is. My grandmother was a great example for me and her entire community. She rode horses well into her 90s, and when my father and uncle took away her car because they thought she was too old to drive in her 80s, she showed them and bought herself an adult 3-wheel bicycle along with her basket in front, and she would ride to the grocery store every day to get her supplies. That helped her even more because she was able to exercise in different ways and spent time visiting with the employees and neighbors while getting her groceries. The West Texas heat didn't seem to bother her as much as it did all of us youngins. Aging doesn't have to be negative, does it, Fred?
No, it doesn't have to be negative. Who is your role model? A role model for us a few years back was when we went to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Our last morning before that grueling 10.5-mile hike out, Tracy and I met a couple. He was 86 and she was 84. They hiked to the bottom of the Grand Canyon twice a year, and to prepare for it, they hiked throughout Arizona as a part of a hiking club. After listening to their stories, we kept looking at each other and thinking, yep, these are our role models. We want to be like them when we get older, and we think about them a lot. They were our role models.
On the negative side, though, we have friends who have given up on being active because they believe they are old and have so many aches and pains. They think the best thing for them is to sit around and do nothing. Obviously, that's not you because you're listening to these podcasts. And that kind of stinking thinking will allow them to be old way before their time of actually being old. They have a wrong viewpoint of aging, and it impacts every decision they make. Everyone has a different reason for wanting to be healthy and full of life. Once you know your why, it's going to become easier to begin and stay the course of getting healthy. Key number 1, know your why. And coming in number 2 on the list, it always comes down to 2 choices. Eric McAdams said, quote, "If you keep good food in your fridge, you're going to eat good food," end quote. According to an Inc. magazine article, the average adult makes about 35,000 decisions every day. And researchers at Cornell University believe that 227 decisions daily are food choices. I learned the importance of choices when I was 17 years old. And if you don't know my story, I was diagnosed with what we called back then juvenile diabetes. And every doctor said I'd be dead within 20 years and die with horrible complications, never be able to have children, and all of that stuff. And everybody I kept saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be healthy, they'd say, you can't. Going out on my first outing after getting out of the hospital several weeks later, we went to a movie. And I got in line, just like you all do with your friends, and everybody was ordering popcorn, candy, Coke, soft drinks, you name it, and it was bought. And my turn came up, and I just wanted a small cup so I could fill up my small cup out of the drinking fountain. Now, y'all, this was way before diet soft drinks and bottled water. And the concession stand clerk said no. I drove home crying, got in bed, I'm sobbing, because at 17 years old, I did feel like my life was over. And I said, Tracy, you've got 2 choices. You can be better or you can be bitter. What are you going to choose? Everything in life we can make 2 choices on. You can choose something for health or something not for good health. and I still practice these same strategies 43 years later. A recent client was struggling with a busy career and wasn't sure how she could work on her health at the same time, but she knew she was way overdue on getting healthy, and her doctor kept gently reminding her, the longer you wait, the harder it will be to change. And knowing that once she logged on the computer for the day, she wouldn't have had a break until evening. She decided to get up an hour early and try to work out. I quickly reminded her that try is not even an acceptable word. Will you or will you not do it? She quickly decided the next morning she was going to do it and promised not to hit the snooze button the next day. During our next coaching call, she reluctantly said she hadn't been able to get up early to work out because she was so tired. After reviewing her evening schedule for that week, it became apparent that she decided to binge watch a new season and stayed up even later every night than the prior weeks and months. We made a few more adjustments, and now she's excited because she's getting to work out and getting much more sleep by setting boundaries on how much time she spends each evening watching TV. Everyone has the same 24 hours a day. Review your schedule and make a choice. Your future self will thank you for it. Key number 2, what choice will you make? You owe it to yourself to make choices to help you live a healthier, more active life.
And number 3, follow the research and science of living longer. Marie Curie said, quote, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." End quote. Every day, science is learning new things about how our body works, and most importantly, things that we can do to improve our health, and a few shocking things that are causing us to hurt our health. Remember the false information of how fat was bad a few years ago, which was funded by the sugar industry? Decades later, scientists are now proving that healthy fat extends our life, and sugar is what shortens our lives. When Tracy looks at health trends, she focuses on the research and the science behind it. It's critical to make sure we avoid the snake oil products, and everything that we do is backed by science. The goal we have each week on these podcasts, in our webinars and challenges, is to provide research that's proven to help us personally, and so many others live a longer, healthier, and more active life. Go back to the over 90 Longevity Codes podcasts and re-listen to specific topics that you need to focus on now. A great example is the mitochondria. These are the little power plants in each cell of our bodies. By taking care of a mitochondria, we will have better health along with a lot more energy. Scientists are continuing to study how the mitochondria works, but we do know for sure that some of the following things promotes cell and mitochondria health. First, our diets need to be rich in healthy foods, and in other words, stay away from processed foods and eat vegetables, fruit, protein, and healthy fats. Avoid diets with toxins and sugar, and get plenty of movement each day. Our mitochondria responds especially good for high-intensity interval training. Intermittent fasting works really well to help improve our cells and the mitochondria. Get outside in the winter and expose your skin if possible. It's good for our mitochondria. Another trick that's really challenging for me is finishing my shower with really cold water.
Brr! It's not fun, but it is good for our health.
That is so true. It shocks your body, but it's good for you. Another one is sun exposure. Get your natural vitamin D. The key is to get enough natural vitamin D, but not too much that you get a sunburn. Everyone is different, but natural sun exposure is a cheap health hack. It's also important to get good sleep, but not just getting a certain number of hours of sleep. It must be restful, restorative sleep. And manage stress. Stress is the number one way to reduce your good health. To help fight stress, use meditation, yoga, deep breathing exercises. These all really help.
And when I'm stuck in traffic, because I don't manage stress as well as Fred does, I often do deep breathing exercises. And y'all, it really does help.
Wrapping up key number 3, focus on the science.
And number 4 may just be my favorite. Movement. Okay, I'm not asking you to ride your bicycle across the United States like I did, but we just talked about the importance of movement for the mitochondria, but it's just the beginning. According to the National Council of Aging, those over the age of 60 who walked 45 minutes every day at a 16-minute mile pace greatly improved their cognitive performance. Those who walked 40 minutes 3 times a week slowed the age-related normal shrinking of the hippocampus. And as a reminder, the hippocampus is the part of the brain associated with short-term memory and is the first area of the brain to be damaged by Alzheimer's. Your mood greatly improves by walking. When you walk, your endorphins increase, enhancing your mood. When you walk for 20 minutes at a quick pace, your disposition can improve for 12 hours afterwards. Frequently walking lowers blood pressure by as much as 11% and reduces the risk of stroke by 20 to 40%. People who walk at a moderate pace for at least 30 minutes 5 or more times per week had a 30% lower risk of cardiovascular disease than those who didn't walk. Walking helps reduce joint pain, even arthritis. People who walk 5 to 6 miles a week can prevent arthritis. If you don't have arthritis, start walking now. When walking, your muscles strengthen and your joints are lubricated. Walking protects hips and knees, just the opposite of what so many people think. Remember, a good pair of shoes is critical to protect your knees, hips, and back. We focused here on walking because it's something most people can do. You don't need to run a marathon, but find activities you enjoy, because when you enjoy it, you're going to do it over and over again. The main idea here is to get your heart pumping.
And number 5 is community. Henry Cloud said, quote, "If you want to become healthy, you have to surround yourself with a group of people that are getting healthy, and you have to be connected to a community that is doing what you want to do." End quote. What's learned from studying the longest living people in the world is they have healthy social support of friends and family. Who do you have in your life? You need the right support system. Having a healthy support system is critical for good health. With the right social support, you have a lower risk of smoking, and believe it or not, when you have a good group of friends, you are less likely to be obese. Good friends are there to celebrate the good times in your life and will also be there with a shoulder to cry on in the bad times. The better friendships you have as you age, the longer you're likely to live. Without friends, you have a higher risk of developing diabetes, heart disease, and depression later in life.
Do you have a friend in your life who will call or text you at 5:30 in the morning to remind you to work out? If not, find somebody. What about the friend who cheers for you when you lose weight or start to eat healthier? Friendship is essential, but you need friends who are like-minded and ready to walk through all phases of life with you. Y'all, it's that important. Find a group of people with the same health goals and watch your health improve. Key number 5, build a strong social support system.
And key number 6 in this longevity movement is eating right for better health. An old proverb says, quote, "When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need." End quote. Do you feel tired mid-morning? Your answer is probably yes, especially if you eat the typical American breakfast. Because a few hours after you eat, your blood sugar spikes, and several hours later, it falls, with or without diabetes. Because of eating this way, you'll feel sluggish. Replace those high-carb breakfasts with salads, lean protein, and healthy fats. Learning these strategies has helped us transform our breakfast. We have more energy throughout the morning and are completely satisfied and remain full until mid-afternoon. Many people think we're crazy the way we eat, but we feel great, have more energy, and I've been able to keep my weight off for years. What's the secret? The countries with the typical Western diet, consisting of processed and refined foods and sugars, proves to have more people with depression and lower levels of energy, compared to those who eat the Mediterranean and standard Japanese meal plans consisting of more vegetables, fruits, fish, and seafood, with only small amounts of lean meats and dairy products. If you're feeling down, need to lose a few pounds, or have low energy levels, check the foods you're eating, because more than likely, that could be the culprit.
On rare occasions, when I eat a typical American breakfast, and again, none of us are perfect, I feel sluggish and wishing, I hadn't eaten it within a few hours. Find what works best for you. Your future self will thank you for it.
A good strategy is also to eat organic foods as much as possible, because it'll help you avoid the many man-made toxins. The most important thing to remember is if you don't make any changes today, where will you be in 1 year? Start right now by making one change. Your future self will thank you for it. Edward Stanley said, quote, "Those who think they have no time for healthy eating will sooner or later have to find time for illness." End quote. Key number 6 is to choose foods that help you and doesn't hurt you. There you have it. Remember, longevity is not just about more years to your life. You want life in those extra years of health, strength, and energy. What you and I are doing to improve our health and longevity is an investment into our health bank account. And the dividends, well, it's impossible to put a price on its value. Tune into next week's podcast, where we'll decode more strategies for living a longer, healthier, and more active life.
And you can do it. Don't ever lose hope.